Hello, Dr. Coker here, and this is a guide to Doma Castle. It's finally time to take it back from Grynewaht. Please like and subscribe. I'm releasing guides for every story dungeon and trial in the game, so you always know what's coming. Let's get started. The trash in this dungeon is fun, and there are a good amount of AoE markers, but nothing really difficult. Let's jump into the bosses. The first boss is Magitek Rearguard. The tank should face him away from the group because he has some frontal damage abilities. One thing you'll see often is Garlean Fire. There will be circular AoE markers with arrows on them. The arrows tell you which way the damage is going, as there will be a line of circles in that direction. Just move out of the way. Later in the fight, you will see two lines of circles. Sermit Pile is a heavy hitter that's instant. There will be no cast bar for it, but it only hits who's in front of the boss, so this should only be the tank. Frequently, you will see Magitek bits around the perimeter, and they will make an array of line AoE markers that do heavy damage. These lines are usually thin, but later in the fight some will have thick lines. Just watch out when you see the markers. You will also have to watch for these floating mines. They will explode if you hit one. The second boss is Magitek Hexadrone. He will frequently cast Circle of Death, which is a large circular AoE knockback and damage effect centered on the boss. Just step out of the marker. You will also often see a stack marker in this fight. Just stack to spread the damage when it strikes. Chain Mine is an ability where you will see orange lasers around the arena. Steer clear of them, because after a few seconds they will deal line AoE damage, and the damage lines are wider than the lasers. They also occur in different patterns later in the fight. Magitek Missiles is one where a tower will appear. One player needs to stand there to prevent the whole group from taking heavy damage. Later in the fight, there will be two towers, and each will need a player standing on it. It does no harm if multiple players stand on these towers. The third boss here is Hypertuned Grynewaht. He will do several abilities simultaneously that force you to move around, but let's go over everything he does one by one. Chainsaw is one where he does frontal damage for a few seconds, but you can move out of the way as he won't turn to follow you. Delay Action Charge is an ability where two players are marked with red circles, and they will need to get away from other players to avoid splash damage. Gunsaw is one where he targets a random player and follows them for a few seconds with a barrage of bullets. Just do your best to avoid dragging the bullets into other players, but it's not always possible. Thermobaric Charge is one where a player will be marked with a proximity marker, then after a few seconds they will drop it on the floor. This player should run far to the edge so the proximity marker is out of the way. Sometime later in the fight, you'll start to see Magitek Chakrams appearing around the edge. They will sweep the floor for wide line AoE damage. Later in the fight, some will appear in the middle. These ones will sweep toward one edge of the floor. Also, orange lasers will appear late in the fight that split the arena into 4 quadrants. After a few seconds, they leave lines that deal damage and knockback. Usually this is accompanied by one player having a thermobaric charge, restricting their movement, but they need to do what they can to drop that marker as out of the way as is possible. This fight is full of simultaneous mechanics, but the damage is fairly forgiving. Just stay on your toes and you'll be fine. And that's it for Doma Castle. I hope you've enjoyed this guide. See you next time.